Hello, good morning all. Today in this video we're going to discuss about the security mechanism in Odoo. So currently in the screen you are seeing Odoo version 12, and if I go to settings you can see this is Odoo version 12 community edition. So let's discuss how the security mechanism is implemented in Odoo. So mainly the security mechanism is done using groups, access rights and record roles. So if I activate the developer mode from here, so I'm activating developer mode. So once after you activate the developer mode, and if you go to settings and if you check this menu users and companies, you can see a groups menu here. So if I open the record, you can see right now there is around 78 groups in the system. So if you install more application, you will get more groups. So right now I have around 78 groups with a given filter. So these groups are created to set some specific access rights and record roles for a particular user groups. So let's come back to the groups later. So now if I go to technical and if I scroll down, you have a security menu, and you can see you have the security menu here. So under the security menu you have record roles and access rights. So I have already told in the Odoo the security mechanism is implemented using groups, record roles and access rights. So if I open the record roles, you can see there is around 169 record roles currently in the database, and you can see the groups which we have checked here. You can see this groups is linked with the record rules. So for some record rules you can see group is empty, and for some others you can see the group is there. So once you have specified a group to record rule, the rule will be get applicable only for the users inside these groups. So if some record rules is kept, some of the groups of record rules kept empty, it will be applicable for all the groups. That is, it will be a global rule. So that's all about the record rules right now. And if I go to the next menu, that is access rights. So if I click on access right, you will have more number of records in access right than in the record rules. So currently you can see there is around 853 record rules, sorry, around 853 access right, and whereas we have only 169 record rules. So what access right will do is that we will give a name, specify the object, that is model name, and it will, you can see again the access right is linked with the groups. And you can see the different permission is giving here, like read, write, create and delete. So for this illustration purpose, in our code, that is in our hospital management module, I have created a new model called lab. So if I go to the PyCharm, you can see if I close this opened, close all, you can see this is our module, that is on hospital. Here you can see inside the models I have added a new file, that is lab.py, for defining a new model into the system. You can see I have added a new model called hospital.lab, and with the two fields, that is one is for specifying lab name and other one is user id, which is of a minute one field with co-model users. So I have added a stored users field for illustrating the record rules. So I have created a new model, that is hospital.lab, and this file you can see this is called inside the init file. Also this models is imported inside the outer init file. So you can see import models is done here, and displaying the corresponding model inside the UI. I have defined the views. So if I go to the views folder, you can see there is a lab.xml file where I have added a new menu called lab under the hospital menu, and I have given the action for the menu, that is model is hospital.lab with two views, that is tree view and form view, and I have defined the form view. You can see this is the form view of the lab record, and if I scroll up you can see this is the tree view, and I have imported this file inside the manifest file. If you check the manifest file, you can see views bar lab.xml is imported. Now if I restart the service, okay, service is restarted, and I will go to apps and I will update the module to make sure that the latest changes has been come into the database. So from here I will update the module. So once after the module is upgraded, you have to see new menu in the UI, that is under the hospital you should see a menu called lab. So let's upgrade the module. So it's almost done. So right now if I go to the hospital menu, you won't see that menu, that is you won't see the menu named lab. So if I take hospital, you see you can see there is no menu called lab. So where is the menu that we have created? So if I go to lab.xml, you can see we have defined the menu here, that is hospital lab, name lab, parent is given as hospital, then action is given, everything is given, but still the menu is not getting visible. So if I go to check settings, technical, then user interface, and if I check the menu items to see whether the menu has been get created. So if I check lab here, you can see lab menu has got created. So if I open the record, you can see there is also action, but still the module is not visible here. Still that menu is not visible here. So the issue is that we haven't specified or we haven't created the access rights for this model. So you can see this is our model name. So if I go to lab.py, you can see this is our model. That is, I will just copy this name, and if I go to where is settings, yes, from settings I will go to technical and then to models, sorry, not models, then to the access right, or either you can go from here access rights and you can check that is, I will paste hospital.lab and I will search for object, search objects, that is search the rules or search the access rights given for this model. So if I search this, you can see there is no access rights given for this model. So either you can search inside this access rights or you can search here. You can see you have a database structure, yes, database structure and models. Here you can search your model, that is lab. Okay, you can see this is our model, and here we have access rights tab. You can see there is no access rights given for this model. Also there is no record rules. So as we haven't defined the access rights, the menu is not visible yet. So if you need to see the menu right now, what you have to do is that you can just switch to super user mode. But this super user mode is not available for other users. It will be only for our admin, initial admin. So if I switch to super user, so before switching into super user, I will just go to hospital, and you can see that right now there is only patients, doctor, appointments, and create appointment. So right now we have only four menus, and we don't have any menu named lab right now. So I will just become super user mode. So make this debugger button will be available only in the debug mode. So I'll just click on super user mode. So you can see system is switching into super user mode, and once the system becomes super user mode, you will have a yellow lines here. So right now I will go to hospital. You can see the lab menu has got visible. So to make a menu visible without giving the access right, what you have to do is that you have to switch to super user mode. So I'll just quit the super user my user mode by logging out the system. So I'll just log out system and I'll log in back. So to quit the super user mode from the UI, there is no option other than just log out and log in. So I'll just log in back to the system. So once I log in back to the system, you can see super user mode is quit. Now if I go to hospital, you can see still the lab is there. So I'm not sure why it's coming like that. So I'll just deactivate the developer mode. It might be the system issue. So if I go to hospital menu, you can see there is right now there is no lab menu visible. So let's see how we can make that lab menu visible even without activating the super user mode. So for that, I have already told we have to specify the access rights for the newly created model. So for that purpose, I will go to, okay, our module, that is OM hospital, and you can see we have a security folder. So the security folder is to place all the security related files. So all the security related files will be placed inside the security folder. So either you can create new access rights from the code or from the UI. If you are going to create from UI, you can go to settings, then activate the developer mode, then you have to go to settings, technical, and from here you have to create, that is what is access rights. Yes, access rights. From here you can create new access right records. So just you have to give a name. You have to specify, suppose if I'm creating the access rights from the UI, test access rights, I'll give us text access rights object has to be lab, yes, hospital laboratory. So I'll just keep the group empty now, so it will be applicable for all the groups, for all the users, and I'll grant the read permission, write permission, create permission, and delete permission is given. So I'll just save it. So what I have done is I have created a new access rights from the UI for the model lab with all the permission, that is read permission is granted, write is granted, create is granted, with the delete also is granted, and groups is kept empty so that it will be available for all the users. So let's refresh the window and see what happens. So if I go to hospital menu right now, you will see the menu, that is if I go to hospital menu, you can see lab menu is there. Yeah, you are able to create records. So I'll give the name as lab1. So lab1 is given, responsible is given to the mutual admin. Okay, that's done. So earlier without creating access right, this menu won't be visible. So let's see what happens if I delete the created role. So I will just from the access rights, I will search for the hospital lab, that is our model name, hospital dot lab. So I will just search for object. So you can see this is the rule we have created. So from the UI you can create the rules like this. So I will just delete this. So I'll just delete this rule. Okay, that's done. And if I reload the screen, okay, you can see screen is getting reloaded. So once the screen is reloaded, I will go to hospital menu. You can see the lab menu has disappeared again because the created access right is deleted. So let's see how we can create the same from the code right now. So from the code we will create access rights from the CSV file, that is inside the security folder I have created ir.model.access.csv file. So from the CSV file we will create access rights. So you can see this file is imported in the manifest file. If I check the manifest file, you can see security ir.access.model.access.csv is called inside the manifest file. So here you have to define the newly creating access rights. So I will just add it here. You can just add it the bottom, but I am adding here it because you have the labels in the top here. So here you can see first column should be ID. So I'll just give the ID as access hospital lab. I will just give a name standing with the subject. So I'll just give the ID as access hospital lab. So S is missing here. Okay, that's done. So ID is given, put a comma, then you can see next column is name. So name has to be given. So I will give the name as access hospital lab. So you can give the name and ID as per your like. So that's done. You can see name is given, ID is given, name is given, and in the next column you have to specify the model name. So once giving the model name, take care, you have to give the model name like this. Folder name, that is our module name is OM hospital. OM hospital, that is our module name, that is OM hospital is given that, and dot model. So this is the syntax of giving the model name OM hospital, that is module name which contain the model, dot model underscore model name, that is our model name is hospital lab. So model name is given as OM hospital dot model underscore hospital lab. So the model name is given, then comma, you can see next is group. You have to specify the group. So right now I will leave the group as empty, so there is nothing to specify. So I will keep an empty here, that is you can see the group is kept as empty. The comma is separating the things, so between this comma it is kept as empty so that group will be empty. So after the comma you have to give the read permission. So I will give one, that is read permission is granted. After that permission right, so I have given the right permission. Then you can see permission create, that is create permission is granted. Okay, and permission unlinked, that is delete permission, so that is also granted. So let's restart the service. Okay, what we have done is we have added a new access right, that is access hospital lab is the ID and access hospital lab is the name. Model is specified, group is kept as empty, and all the permission is given, that is 111. So if you don't want to give the create permission, you can just kept it as 0 like this. So right now I will just give all the permission. So let's update the module. So once right now we are not getting the labs menu, so I'll just go to the settings, sorry, not to the apps menu, and from the apps menu I will upgrade the module. So you can see from I'm upgrading the module. So once after the module is upgraded, a new access right will be get added into the database for the model hospital.lab. So let's wait until the module is getting upgraded. So first of all, before going into the settings, I'll just check hospital, and you can see lab menu has got visible because we have given the access rights. And let's go to settings, technical, and let's see whether whether the access right has been get created. So from the database structure I will take the labs record, lab model. So this is our model, and if I click on check on access rights tab, you can see the record rule, that is sorry, the access rights we have added from the code has get created here. You can see name is access.hospital.lab, which we have given here. You can see access hospital.lab is there, fine. Obviously model is hospital.lab, read permission is there, write permission is there, create permission is there, and delete access is there. So this is how simply you can give the access rights. So now let's look how to create a new user groups into the system so that we can link that groups with the access rights. So for creating new user groups, what you have to do is that the coding is done inside the XML. So you can see inside the security folder I have got security.xml file. So here I have already created some user groups for illustrating the hospital management module. So I'm not going to use this at this time. So I'll just show you what I have already created. So if you check the groups here, I have already created a group called hospital. So you can see I have already created two groups, that is doctor and manager is created. So let's create a new groups inside that, that is called lab operator or lab assistant, like that. Let's create a new group. So for creating a group, you can see this is the code of how you can create a group. I'll just copy this and I will paste it here, and I will give us group hospital lab assistant lab. Just I will give the record ideas group hospital lab, and in the name I will give us lab assistant. Okay, the name for the group, you can see model is just dot groups, id is given as group hospital lab, and name for the group is given as lab assistant. And for now I will just comment these two lines. So what we have done is we have just added three lines, that is record id is given, model is dot groups, and name is given as lab assistant. So let's upgrade the module. So if I go to the groups menu right now, and if I search for lab here, you won't get anything because there is no group named labs. So let's update the module and come back to the same menu. So from here I will upgrade the module. So what we have done is we have added a new user group, that is from the code. So same thing you can do from the front end also. You can just go to the groups menu, click on create button and create a new group. So but right now I'm illustrating from the code side. I have created a new user group called lab assistant. So I think module is got upgraded. Now I will go to settings and I will go to the groups menu, and if I go to the groups menu you can see, and if I search for lab, you can see the new user group has got created. So that's done, that is we have added a new user group. And you can see, let's, if I go to the users form, so once we create users we have to assign groups to users. So if I'm click on create buttons for new user, if I search for, yeah, you can see lab assistant is, that is the newly created groups. So from here we will link user and groups. Once we create new user, you can specify the groups which he has to comes. So right now you can see lab assistant is coming here. So because we haven't specified the category, so you can see I have already created a category called hospital management. So let's make lab assistants come under this category hospital management. So for that what I have to do is that here category ID, you can see the commented code. I'll just untick this, and here you can see I have already created a new category, that is record model ir.module category. ID is given as module category hospital, and the name is given as hospital management, which you are seeing here. This is the module category. So I'll just copy this ID, the ID of the module category, and I'll specify it with the lab assistant. So right now we are getting the lab assistant in the other group. You can see if I check the users form, you can see it's coming under the others list because there is no category specified. So let's upgrade the module to see the changes. So what I have done is I have specified the category as hospital management for the group lab assistant. So let's upgrade the module and see the changes, what happens. So let's wait until the module is getting upgraded. You can see module is still loading. Okay, the module has got upgraded successfully without any issues. So what I will do is that I'll just go to the users form view and let's check the position of the lab assistant. So I click on create button and I'll just straight away scroll down. Right now you can see when we have checked, we have seen the lab assistant here, but it's not visible there because it's not coming under the other category right now. What it will comes under the hospital management. You can see lab assistant is get under the lab assistant. Sorry, lab assistant is coming under the hospital management. So this is how you can create a new group and attach it with a category. So that's done. So what we have done is we have created a new user group, and if I go to the groups menu and if I search for the name lab, it will be coming as hospital management bar lab assistant. So I'll just make search of lab here, So if I search lab here, you can see the name is coming as hospital management slash lab assistant. That is module category slash module category name. So that's done. So for now, let's we see how we can link this group with the access right. So if I go to technical and I will go to the models. So you have the models here. So I will search for my model, that is lab. So you can see this is our model for laboratory. And if I open this, that is edit mode, and in the access right tab, what you can do is that you can just click on here and you can attach the group here, that is lab assistant. You can just attach like this and click on save. So that is this access right is now linked with the this group, that is this access right will get affect only to this user group. So earlier when we have checked here, the lab is visible right now. So what happened, let's see what happens if the screen is got refreshed. I think the lab menu won't get visible again. Yeah. So what happens right now, once we link newly created group to that access rights, suddenly the lab menu has got disappeared. So it's because, so if I go to settings again, okay, I will just keep a new tab here so that I can switch it easily. So in this tab I will go to the security, that is model database models, and I will search for my model, that is lab, and I will go to the access rights tab and I will just remove this group. So suddenly when I added this specified this group, the lab menu has got invisible. So let's see what happens right now. So I will go to the hospital menu again. So once after the refresh, you will get the lab menu here because I have removed that group from the access right. So right now the lab menu got visible again. So if you check here, we have removed the group. So I'll just link that again. So I'll just click on edit button and I will add the lab group again. So hospital management lab assistant, and I will reload the screen here again. You have lab menu here. So once after the reload, you will lose that lab menu again. So that is because we have specified the access rights for that group. So our user should be inside that group. So right now, if I go to that groups, so from here, settings, and if I check that group, that is, which is our newly created group, that is lab assistant, and if I check this group, you can see there is right now there is no users inside this group. So let's add mutual admin to that group. So I'll just click on add a line and I'll add both the users, that is mark demo and mutual admin, to this group. Okay, that's done. So what I have done is I have added the current logged in user and demo user to that group. And if I check hospital menu again, we won't have lab menu here because I haven't reloaded the screen. So once after the screen is reloaded, you will have the lab menu there. So you can see lab menu is getting right now. Okay, and access right is linked with the group. So this is how access right and groups are linked. So what I will do is that I will just delete it from here and I will add the same thing from the code. So I'll just remove it again. Okay, same. You can see the group is empty. I'll just restart here. Still you will get the lab because it is applicable for all the groups. So you can see the lab menu here. Now I'll add the group. You can see the ID of the group. This is the newly created group. I'll just copy this ID, Control C, and I will move to ir.model access CSV. So earlier we have kept this column empty. Now I will paste the ID of the column, and I will just copy this folder module name. That is, you can see I have given the group name as OM hospital.id of the group, that is external ID. So if I go front end, that is from here, if I go to settings, users, groups, and if I search for the lab, okay, and if I open this lab and if I click on this button and if you click on view metadata, you can see this is the ID, XML ID of that record, that is OM hospital.group hospital lab, which we have given here. So I'll just paste it once again. So the group ID is specified. So let's upgrade the module and see what happens. So I will just restart the service. So you can see service is restarted. Now I will go to apps menu again. So I will go to the apps menu again, apps menu, and from the apps menu I will update the module. So here you can see right now access right, there is no groups. So let's see what happens after module is updated. So I'll just update the module from here. So once after the module is updated, you can see here the groups will comes automatically from the code. So let's wait until the module is getting upgraded. You can see module is upgraded almost fine without any errors. So let's refresh this window. So once the screen is reloaded, you can see, if I check the access right tab, you can see group is coming automatically from the code. So this is how access rights is given for the models. So now let's comes with our record rules. So if I open, you can see right now here it's Mitchell admin. So I'll just localhost 8012. I'll just open another user in this tab. That is, I'll just log in demo user from here. Sorry, demo. So I'll just log in as demo user here. So you can see demo user can see hospital and he can also see lab. So let's discuss the record rules right now. So right now I have only one record. So let's create for few more records. So from here, that is Mitchell admin login. I'll just hospital lab and I'll create lab 2 and I'll set a responsible as mark demo. Okay, that's done. Okay, fine. So right now we have two records. That is one lab 1, the responsible person is Mitchell admin, and for the lab 2, the responsible person is mark demo. So let's see how we can restrict the visibility of the records. Like Mitchell admin should see only the labs in which he is responsible, and mark demo should see only those labs in which he is responsible. That is, mark demo should be see only lab 2, that is in which he is assigned as responsible person, and Mitchell admin should see only lab 1. So let's see how we can do that. So for restricting the visibility of the record, we will use record rules. So record rules is also done from the XML side. So I'll just go to the security.xml file. Here I have already created a record rule. So I'll just copy this. Okay, I'll just copy this and I will paste it here. I will just remove this line from here that is commented out. So what we have done here is that we are going to define record rules for restricting the visibility of the record. Like Mitchell admin should see only lab 1 in which he is responsible, and Mark demo should only see lab 2 in which he is assigned as responsible person. So for that we have to write record rules. So for writing record rules, either you can do it from the front end as we have done for the access rights. You can go to settings, technical, keeping the developer mode activated. You can see if I go to the record rules menu, you can see, sorry, I have checked access rights. From record rules, you can just click on the create button and you can create new rules. So right now I will just create new rules from the code. For that I have copied an existing ir.role model. That is, this is the sample record rule. You can see the model should be given as ir.role, and you have to give ID. I will give, I guess, he his own lab. You can give an appropriate ID. I'll just give the ID as see his own lab, and I'll give the name as see his lab only. So I have given the name for the record rule as see his lab only, and model should be specified for which model the rule has to be applied. So our model is hospital lab. So I'll just update the name, model name, that is model underscore model name. That is our model name is hospital lab. So if I check here, you can see our model name is hospital dot lab. While specifying in the XML, you have to give instead of dot, you have to give underscore. So model is specified model underscore hospital lab, and inside this domain, so let the domain be empty right now, and groups. So also I will just keep the groups empty right now. Okay, and I'll come to the domain force. In the domain force is the core part of the record rule. Here you have to specify the condition. So if I go to our model, that is from the view, that is if I go to the labs menu, here you can see, okay, I'll take the admin login, and you can see right now the record rule is empty right now. So I will go to the labs menu, hospital, and lab menu, and if I open a record, you can see debug mode is activated. So if I place the mouse over this field, you can see the field name is user ID. So I'll give a domain like user ID should match with the logged in ID. If so, I will give a domain as user ID should be equal to logged in user. So those records will be only displayed. So I'll come to the record rule. You can see here I will just remove the, here you can see user ID. So user ID is the field name of these, that is user id, the field name user id should match with the user.id. So user.id is a variable which will return us the logged in user id. So user.id will return us the logged in id. So we will get id of machine admin, and it will be get compared with this record id. So if those matches, it will only visible. So once we give this record rule, these matching records will be only displayed. So let's upgrade the module and see what happens. Okay, also I'll specify the group. I'll just come in the group and specify our group name, that is hospital group, hospital lab. So I'll just specify our group here. So I'll just restart the service, and I will activate the develop. So sorry, I will go to the apps menu and I will upgrade the module to see the changes. Okay, from here I will upgrade the module. So what, let's see what happens if the module is upgraded. So what we have done is we have just added a record rule to restrict the visibility. He should see only those labs in which he is assigned as responsible person. So that is done. So if I go to the settings, and if I go to technical and then to the models, it's database structure models, and if I search for the model lab, okay, and that is our model. And if I check here, you can see access right we have already done. And if I go to the record rules tab, you can see the newly created record rule has been added here, that is the given name, see his lab only, which we have given here. You can see there is a spelling mistake, an extra thing has been, I will just remove it. And the model id is given as lab. Okay, you can see model, yeah, model is hospital.lab, domain user id equal to user.id. By default all the read permission is granting. So if you need to change any of these permission like read, write, create or anything, you can specify it here in the xml. So if I make search inside this code, you can see, so you can see like this, by default all the permission is true. So if I paste it here, if you need to change any other permission like read permission has to be disabled or delete permission has to be disabled, you can just give it as 0. That's done. That is create permission is 1, write permission is 1, and delete permission is set to 0, and read permission is granted. So by default everything will be positive, sorry, everything will be active. So let's, right now you can see all the things are ticked. So let's see what happens once the module is updated again. So what I have done is I have removed the delete permission. So you can see permission unlink is set to 0. So let's wait until the module is getting upgraded. So once after the module is upgraded, we will go to the database structure models and search for our model, that is lab. So I'll go to settings, technical, and what is database structure, yeah, models, and make a search of lab. Okay, hospital lab. And if I switch to record roles, you can see right now the delete permission is unticked. So because what we have given here is permission unlink is set to 0. I'll make it as 1 for now. Okay, that's done. And you can also see the same rule from here, that is you can go to the record rules menu and you can search, make a lab with a key lab. You can see his lab only. For object hospital laboratory, groups is given, lab assistant, domain is there, and all permission is given except delete permission. So let's see what happens to our records once we have implemented the record rules. So from here, this is the login of Mr. Admin. So if I go to the hospital and then to the labs menu, you can see he is only getting one record. So where is the other record, that is where is lab 2? So this is the Mitchell admin login. You can see he is only seeing his record. So if I switch to here, that is, this is the mark demo login. Right now before reloading the screen, you can see there is 2 records right now. What happens once after the screen is reloaded is that you will only see second record. So I'll just reload the screen. So once after the screen is loaded, you will only see lab 2. Yeah, so you can see right now Mark Demo is only seeing his record and Mitchell admin is only seeing his record. So this is the use case of the record rules. So this is the domain we have given, that is he should only see his own record. So I'll just create few more groups, that is I'll change this name as lab assistant user, and I'll create one more user, just sorry, one more group, lab user, and I'll create a manager for the lab assistant manager. So I'll just rename the ID as lab assistant manager. It's better to give us lab manager, but let's continuous lab assistant manager. So what here I have done is I have created a new user group called lab assistant manager. So let's upgrade the module. So I'll go to the apps menu, and from the apps menu I will upgrade the module. Okay, the module is getting upgraded. Okay, you can see the module is getting upgraded. So once after the module is upgraded, you can see a new user group has added into the system, that is lab assistant manager. It's for showing the functionalities of the record rules. So I'll go to the settings again, and then to the users and companies groups, and if I search for lab, you will have two records, that is lab assistant manager and lab assistant user. So if I open this group, you can see access right is empty, record roles is empty. So if I go to lab assistant user, he will have access rights and he will have record roles which we have added already. So to the system, you can see lab manager, lab assistant manager is a top position than lab assistant user. So what happens if the same rules, that is we have defined these rules, that is record rule is defined for this model, that group, that is lab assistant user, and we have defined an access right for this user. So let's see how we can bring the same rules that we are granted for lab assistant user to lab assistant manager. Right now you can see access rights and record roles empty. So there is a concept of implied IDs. So from here there is an implied IDs. So I'll just copy this, and in the newly created user group, that is lab assistant manager, I'll give implied IDs as, in the implied IDs you have to specify the group name. So I'll just copy this group name. So I'll just copy this group name ID and I'll put it here. So what happens is that all the access rights and all the record roles given for this group will be given for this user group also. That if you give any special permission, or if you give any permission for the, if you give any access right or record roles for the lab assistant user, it will be automatically get for lab assistant manager because it is inheriting this. So right now if you check this, you can see it is inherited nothing. So let's upgrade the module from here. So from here I'll upgrade the module. So let's upgrade the module. So once after the module is upgraded, you can see in the hospital lab assistant manager, you can see in the inherited tab you will have lab assistant user will be coming here. So let's wait until the module is getting upgraded. So the module is getting upgraded. Okay, the module got upgraded successfully. Now let's reload this page. Okay, so once you reload the page, you can see in the inherited tab you will have the lab assistant user is coming here. You can see it's coming here because we have given the implied IDs. Now if you check the access rights, let me reload the screen again. Yeah, it won't be coming here, but he will be getting all the record access rights and record roles given for this user group. So if I go to this group, that is, sorry, I will just go to the user groups from here itself, and if I search lab, that is lab assistant manager will get all the record roles and access rights of this model. So that's about access rights and record roles. So now let's see, we have right now we have two different user group, that is lab assistant user and lab assistant manager. So right now the mark demo is lab assistant user group, so that he can see, his own record. So but let's make Mitchell admin as lab assistant manager. So I will go to the users form view, and from here I'll just make, or from here from the groups I will add the Mitchell admin to the group lab manager. From here I will add him to the group manager. So manager should see all the records. So I have added him to the group lab assistant manager, and we should write a record rule for the manager. Like if he is a manager, he should see all the records, all the lab records, and if he is the user inside the lab, he should see only his records. So I'll go to the XML file and I'll add a new record rule. I'll just copy this. Okay, and I will paste it here. I added role. I'll all see all lab. I'll just update the name, see all lab. Okay, and the model is same, the model is hospital lab, and I will give, either you can give the domain force as empty, that is if you can give the domain force as empty like this, it will be fine, or either you can give it as 1 equal to 1, that is true condition is can be given. So if I search some existing rules, 1 equal to 1, so let me search, so I can get it from here. So I will just go to the front end, and from here I'll just search record rules. For some record rules you can see domain will be empty. Yeah, you can see domain is there. So if I check here, domain is, yeah, you can see a domain with 1 equal to 1. So 1 equal to 1 means always true. So as I have told, either you can keep it as empty. So let's close this. So either you can keep the domain as empty, or you can give 1 equal to 1. So that is always true. That's done, and it has to be applied for manager group. So I'll copy the manager group ID, and I'll give it here. So you can see for the lab user, it should only see his own records, but for lab manager he should see all the records and all the permission is granted. So I'll restart the service. So before adding the record rule, if I go to the labs menu, hospital, okay, lab, Mr. Admin is only seeing his own record, and Mark Demo is only seeing his own record. So but after once module is upgraded, the Mr. Admin can see all the records. So let's update the module. So from here I'll update the module. So for that I will go to the apps menu, and from the apps menu I will upgrade the module. So from here I will upgrade the module. Okay, you can see module is getting upgraded. So once after the module is upgraded, Mitchell admin can see all the lab records, because he is manager group, and for the manager group the record rule is given as 1 equal to 1, because that is always true condition. So if I reload the screen here, you can see Mitchell admin is able to see all the records, and still Mark Demo will only see his own record. So he is, because he is lab user. So let me change Mitchell admin, sorry, Mark Demo as the, if I add Mark Demo to manager group, if I search manage lab, and let me add the Mark Demo here, that is into the manager group, he will be able to see all the records. So I'll just save him to the lab assistant manager, and if I reload the screen, he will be able to see both records. So you can see right now he is able to see all the records, because he is assigned as manager. So if I need to remove him from the manager, if I remove him from the manager group, so I'll just remove him from the manager group, and if I reload the screen, he will only see his own records. Okay, he is only seeing his own records, and if he Mark Demo don't want to see any of the records, I can just remove him from the group lab user also. So I'll go to the lab user group, and I'll just remove Mark Demo from here. So once right now he is not the part of lab assistant user or lab assistant manager. So if I reload the screen, he won't see the menu at all. He won't see lab menu at all. You can see right now access right, because we are open that menu. So I'll go to the discuss, okay, and I will come back to the hospital. You can see lab menu is not visible for him, because he is not part of the user groups. So this is how the user groups, record rules, and access rights is working in Odoo. And if you need, I'll come to another part. Suppose if I comes to the technical and menu item, so you can see you have menu items. You can link the groups to the menu also. You can, if I search lab, sorry, parent menu, not the parent menu. If I search for the menu lab, you can see menu also can be linked to groups. You can see from here you can add link. That is, if I give the link as lab assistant manager should only see this. Right now I have, earlier for the menu I have kept the group as empty. Now I have specified that lab menu has only visible for the managers. And let's add, from here I will add settings. From here add, from groups I will add a lab. Right, from here I will add Mark Demo to the group, that is lab assistant user. When earlier when we have add him to this group, the lab menu was visible for him, but right now what we have changed is we have linked menu with the groups. That is, this menu should only visible for this group, that is manager. So let's see what happens right now. So if I reload the window, you can see this is Mark Demo. Right now he won't be able to see lab menu, because we have restricted that lab menu should only visible for managers. So if I make him as manager, so from here, if I add him to the manager, that's from here I will add him to the manager. He can see the lab menu because the menu is visible only for the users in the group manager. So you can see right now lab is getting visible. So that is because we have given here. So once I remove this from here, okay, remove from here, and if I remove him from the mark demo, that is from manager group. So right now he is only part of lab assistant user. You can see in the lab assistant user he is there, and if I reload the screen, still he will get the lab menu because I have removed the group from the menu as well as the. So this is how you can link the menu with the groups. So if you need any buttons or field, suppose if you need to restrict a field, suppose if I can see we have two fields here, that is we have name field and responsible field. Suppose if what happens if this responsible field has to be visible only for managers, so if I press the mouse over it, you can see the developer mode is not activated. I will go here where developer mode is activated. So I'll go to the hospital and then to the labs. If I open a lab, you can see the field name is user ID. So if I go to the corresponding view, that is form view, where you can see lab.xml. So I will go to the views and to the lab.xml. So this is the form view. What we need is that user ID, the field user ID, that is responsible. The field with the label responsible should only seen for manager group. So what I will do is that along with the group field description, you can add groups tag, groups equal to, and specify the group for which the field has to be visible. So from here, from the here groups, I will copy the group ID of the manager, that is lab assistant manager. I will copy the external ID from here, view metadata, that is I will copy from here and I will paste it here. So what I have done is that along with the field, I have added the group, that is this field should be visible for the users in the group. So let's upgrade the module. So before upgrading the module, you can see mark demo is able to see responsible field. So and mark demo is only in the group lab assistant, he is not in the manager. And if I go here, mark demo is there in the user group lab assistant user. So let's upgrade the module first. So I'll go to the apps menu, and from the apps menu I will upgrade the module. So I'll just upgrade the module. So once after the module is upgraded, the responsible field will get visible only for the users inside the group lab assistant manager. So let's wait until the module is getting upgraded. So you can see module is almost get upgraded. So once after the module is upgraded, I will go to the here. So right now without reload, you can see responsible field is visible here. So I'll just reload the screen. So what happens is you won't see responsible field again. So you can see the field got hidden. So if you need to visible that field again for mark demo, he has to be part of lab assistant manager. So if I add him to the group lab assistant manager, okay, that's added. And if I reload the screen here, the field will become visible again. Okay, you can see field will get visible again. So that is we have restricted this visibility of this field only to the users inside that group manager. So this is how you can work with access right, record rules, and groups in Odoo. So I think you have got almost all idea regarding this. If you have any queries, you can comment it out or reach us over the mail, that is odoomates@gmail.com. Please subscribe our channel and like the videos, and for more notification press the bell icon and support us by subscribing channel. Thank you.